The biggest mistakes I've made in my life have all come during the times of transition. Morning to noon, the transition from school to graduating to working, the transition from work to work, the transitions from friend to a lover, the transition while moving houses, the transition between switching from focused work to distracted work, the transition from being locked in to weaking, the transitions from winter to summer, the avatar cycle. Life is literally constantly transitioning. The transition from having a job to just getting laid off. If I could summarize this video in one phrase, it's that it's always changing. Things are always changing, and nothing is truly certain. That's the one thing so far that I'm certain of. I am now in that phase of life where this is so blatantly obvious. The last 2 months have been non-stop change for me. Non-stop. I had to move houses, I had to move job roles, and then immediately got laid off. I had to switch back to being in school. I had to switch from not having a car to having a car to not having a car. Friend groups were constantly changing. My emotions have literally been tumultuous as hell, but I still want to make sure I don't forget the feeling of being alive. I'll talk about that horror story in a bit. That's also probably why I'm uploading more all of a sudden. I'm a big fan of protocols and routines. Clearly, I have made like so many videos about this in my channel, even though I have like 30 videos. I can always give myself a protocol and stick to it. I can. In my head, that makes life more consistent. But none of them truly work without taking into account my individual changes. It has to be with the right question and intention. Is it right for me at that moment? And that question and intention is always changing. Yeah, it was amazing to have 4 or 5 hours of uninterrupted deep work in the morning when I was unemployed. That was very difficult to do while working. Yeah, in the morning I would do a small workout, do metta, do meditation, work for an hour and a half to 2 hours, fast till about 12. But even during all that time, life was still happening. That was a routine, yes, but life didn't stop happening. That routine arose naturally because I enjoyed what was coming out of it. I found that to be fulfilling. It wasn't the other way around. I no longer believe that mood follows action. I think intention drives everything. I stopped clinging to having that routine because that routine was only a byproduct of my intention, not the other way around. My peace of mind, my clarity of being, my creativity, my sense of aliveness, that was the point, not the other way. After these last 4 weeks, I've deeply come to appreciate how clinging to those routines made me weak. Just do what you feel like you could do right now. A byproduct of understanding an unclinging mind will bring you to the right routine, and never a perfect protocol for a changing life. This makes it sound like progress is not possible, but that's actually not what I'm saying. I think progress just happens, but we don't notice it. I remember distinctly trying for months and months and months to get my back squat numbers up following my accident. I still want to hit that double bodyweight back squat. I can't do it yet because apparently it's a helpful goal to be able to dunk. Again, I still can't do that yet. I could not budge that number. I focused on it way too much. So instead, I kind of just forgot about it and started focusing on many other things. My flares, my anaerobic threshold training, more importantly, my dancing. I did the same way for back squat for months and months and months and months and months, but focused on all these other things that were naturally arising and piquing my interest at that time. So same weight, no progress. I felt like I was definitely in a deep, dark hole. Then months later, suddenly I decided to go up in weight, and I was able to go up by 25 pounds easily. I hadn't thought about it in months, but somehow there was progress there. What happened there? Internally, I was convinced that there was nothing changing. It was changing. All I really saw was someone that doesn't squat to someone that squats. But there's all this life happening in between that we could never see. And that's the thing with goals. It prevents us from seeing what's happening. Same reason, I have uploaded videos for months and months and months, and for years even, and I haven't really noticed a change. But there's been that one video that's kept me going. It's always that one moment of clarity that kind of changes many things, right? I believe it's called the Pareto principle. But it's a similar things with other habits I've had as well. I've gone months and months while eating bad food. And then suddenly one moment of clarity just changed all that, and I didn't want to eat it anymore. It didn't come from discipline or wanting to change the thing. It came from understanding. Similar to other things, I felt the pain of rejection from many things, from employment, from dance teams, from girls, from her. But a moment of understanding suddenly fixes all that, and I no longer miss having missed out. I think that's something to be looked at. I started the video off by talking about all these things that are happening around my life, and it feels like when it rained, it poured. It really did pour. Like event after event, things are just happening. The phrase, it rains, it pours, is usually said in a context where something is going wrong, and it keeps going wrong, or when something is going really well, and it keeps going well. What exactly is that momentum thing? What's happening there, really? Now, I've had resistance to the idea that everything is ultimately perception and belief, but recently I actually do think it's almost entirely true. I've been listening to Ellen Langer's work recently, how majority of belief in diseases are actually affected entirely by stress. And our studies were really convincing. Like, for example, she talks about this study called Chambermain study, where these nurses were convinced that they weren't really getting any physical activity and they weren't exercising or whatever, but showing them that their daily movements that they have been doing, for example, like fixing the bed or moving things, is actually a lot of strenuous activity. And just understanding that automatically helped them lose more weight and look skinnier, despite the fact that nothing had actually physically changed. Similarly, she talks about the counterclockwise study. I might be getting this wrong. Senior citizens are placed in an environment with younger people. And within a couple of months, their vision improves, their memory improves, they look younger, and they act in a different way. What is that? Nothing actually seemingly changed physiologically, but it's just the fact that their belief systems changed. I think what was the craziest story that she brought up was a nocebo effect. Someone was given a medication that is supposed to induce vomiting, but they were told that it's a medicine that's supposed to stop vomiting. And somehow that actually worked in stopping the vomiting. This isn't just placebo. This is a belief system actively overriding what is supposed to be a physiological response. I think that's insane. And I've heard of similar stories among my friends as well, where like some people that I know, they'll take caffeine to help themselves fall asleep. This is just ridiculously untrue thing scientifically, but it's happened to them multiple times because they believe it's to be true. And I've seen it on my grandma who drinks like black tea at like 10 p.m. and she will knock out instantly. Versus me, I drink it at like 6 p.m. and I can't fall asleep all night. I'm sure there's like genetic components to that, but I think a lot of it also comes down to belief. And I find that to be both terrifying and fascinating. But to go back to what I was talking about earlier, when it rains, it pours, I really believe there's no such thing as a big event. Because what does it tell us about what we think is raining and what we think is pouring? Life is constantly changing, like I said in the beginning. Yet our mind only notices what we think is big. So therefore, we start interpreting what's good and what's bad when things are just happening all the time. For example, oh, my car broke down equals that sucks. Bad things keep happening to me. I'm unlucky. I'm so bad. Now I suddenly notice everything that's wrong that's going on in my life constantly. So the entire next cycle of things, we just constantly notice bad things. It's the same when good things happen as well. Oh, I'm such a lucky person, and suddenly I keep noticing only good things happening in my life. Every big change I felt like I had to go through this last month, and it's been a lot. Seriously, it's been a lot. Oh my god, it's been a lot. I actually don't think any of it was any more important than what's happening right now. It's just occupied more of my attention. I started this video off by saying I make mistakes during transition spaces, but really it just came down to being mindless in that moment. I didn't do what I wanted to in that moment. That's really all it was. I have a tendency to say, why me, when something bad happens to me. And I have a tendency to say, I am the goated. I'm so goated. I'm him. Loki him when something good happens to me. Why do I gotta be the one to lose my job? Why does it happen to me? Basically, I'm creating a false identity of myself and making myself kind of stagnant and numb to the changes that are about to happen in the next moment. But despite this identity that I cling to, things are always happening around me. And things are always happening inside me. Hey, yo, Paul. Universe is still happening inside of me. Hey, yo. Just like in the story of how I squatted for months and months and months with no progress, and I didn't even think about it, but then it automatically improved. Those are the things that are happening inside of me. Maybe we just need to stop being blind to change. Because I claim that there's no such thing as a big event ever. It's all equalized in some sense. It's all neutral until we add our perception to it. Same reason why we focus on goals and results, the same reason why we think about when it rains and it pours. I just didn't see it. There are no big events. Okay, let's finally get to the horse story that I was talking about. One of my favorite parables of all time is about this Taoist farmer in China. It's called the parable of the Taoist farmer. Basically, the farmer is always constantly faced with what seems like a life-altering event. He has a horse that's really good at pulling carts, and the villagers are like, damn bro, you're so lucky to have that horse. You must be something else. The farmer says, mayhaps. He then loses this horse to a storm or something. It breaks the cart and he no longer has a horse. And the villagers are like, that's so unfortunate. How does that feel? And the farmer replies, maybe it's bad. The horse then comes back with 6 other wild horses that are each capable of pulling more carts. The villagers are so jealous. They're like, damn, bro, you're so lucky. You have 6 horses now. The farmer replies, maybe. One of his sons, while riding one of the wild horses, falls down and breaks his leg. The villagers then ask, damn bro, that sucks, your son just got hit. And the farmer says, maybe. And then suddenly, so soldiers come in to the village looking for young men capable of fighting. They go to the farmer's house. They notice that the son has a broken leg. so he doesn't get recruited. Basically, I think the idea here is that nothing is truly good or bad. It's all the perception that we add afterwards. Everything good has an intrinsically bad property, and everything bad has an intrinsically good property. It doesn't really dictate how we need to feel about anything ever. We just need to see things as it is. Here is a Medium article that links the story. So what do I do, bro? I think in this context, all this video is really trying to say is all we could really do is cultivate as much clarity and understanding as possible throughout our events. It might be a long time before we truly understand this in every single moment and every single circumstance, or it might be one big event and one big insight that changes everything for us immediately. It's always that one thing that could do many things that we crave for, and I think it's possible. And that's what the story of the horse reminds me of. Keep noticing things as it is, whether it's the changing nature of the events around us, the lack of progress, our clinging to an identity of something, like how unlucky we are or how lucky we are. Our job is to not get stuck in aversion, and we could probably have it all.